Are you getting bad salt readings, inconsistent chlorine production, or strange operation from your Hayward salt system? Before you replace the cell, before you blame the control board, and before you start throwing parts at it, there may be a ridiculously simple thing to try. Turn your cell upside down. Yes, seriously. And the reason has less to do with the problem with the salt cell and a whole lot more to do with how we've changed the way we operate swimming pools. I've trusted Hayward AquaRite salt system since back in the 1900s. And AquaRite was one of the early major drivers of residential salt chlorination in the United States. It's a rock solid system. Over the years, you've seen the Hayward and Goldline salt chlorination technology under several familiar names and configurations. Goldline AquaRite, Hayward AquaRite, Swim Pure Plus, NatureSoft, Mineral Springs, and incorporated into Hayward systems such as AquaLogic, ProLogic, and Aqua Plus. And there were even older applications such as Splash Clear. They're not all automatically interchangeable, so make sure your controller is compatible with your particular cell. But this basic Hayward Goldline technology has been around for a long time. And there's an important point here. The basic shape of these cells hasn't changed much. What has changed dramatically is normal pool operation. For years, most residential pools had single-speed pumps. You turned the pump on, whoosh, you were moving water. And usually a lot more water than the salt system's flow switch actually needed just to prove that there was adequate flow. A typical Hayward flow switch only needs roughly 11 to 15 gallons per minute, depending on the installation plumbing conditions, to activate and allow chlorine generation. For years, that wasn't much of a concern. Our normal operating flow was usually well above the minimum. Then came one of the best improvements we made in residential swimming pools, the variable speed pump. I love variable speed pumps. Instead of blasting water through the plumbing all day, we can reduce RPMs, reduce flow, increase operating time if we want, and dramatically reduce electrical consumption. That's fantastic. But now, something interesting can happen. Look at the shape of this TurboCell. See how there's a high point? And inside this raised area are the electrolytic plates and sensing components we're relying on. At higher flow, we're moving plenty of water through here. But now let's dramatically reduce the flow. We can still potentially reach a situation where we still have enough water movement to satisfy the flow switch, but not the kind of flow and turbulence we historically had moving through the cell. And that's an important distinction. The flow switch being satisfied does not necessarily mean the cell housing is behaving exactly as it did at much higher flow. Air and gas want to go up here. Air rises, gas rises, and electrolysis itself produces gas. So with the cell installed in its conventional orientation and operating at lower flow, a gas or air pocket can potentially remain at the high point of this housing. And guess what's up there? Our plates, our sensing area. At substantially higher flow, water movement can help carry those pockets through and back down and out through the pool. But at lower flow, there may not be enough velocity and turbulence to clear a persistent high point pocket as effectively. The flow switch may still say, yep, I've got flow. Meanwhile, part of the electrode or sensing area may not be experiencing the water conditions we really want. That can contribute to poor, inconsistent operation, questionable salt readings, or reduced chlorine generation, and potentially undesirable heating if energized electrode surfaces aren't remaining properly flooded. So what's the incredibly sophisticated engineering solution? Turn that sucker over. Use gravity. That's it. Put the bow of the hump containing the electrode assembly down. Where does the water want to be? Down here. Where does the air want to be? Up here, but it's going to go up. Now we've moved the important part of the cell away from the natural high point where air and gas want to collect. So if you're taking advantage of lower pump speeds with a variable speed pump and you're experiencing inconsistent salt readings or cell performance, try flipping the cell upside down. It's that simple. It costs you nothing if your plumbing arrangement allows the cell to be rotated. Simply loosen the unions on either end of the cell, turn the cell upside down, and then retighten the unions. Be careful tightening unions, you can crack them. Do not use tools in a heavy force to tighten cell unions. But you're just simply changing the orientation. Now there's a very important second part of this. Turning the cell upside down does not mean we can ignore minimum flow. You still need enough flow to reliably satisfy the flow switch. And when I'm setting the lowest operating speed on a variable speed pump, I don't want to find the exact RPM where the flow switch barely activates and say, perfect. Because today your pump basket is clean, your skimmer basket is clean, your filter is clean. Everything is perfect. 2 weeks from now, maybe not. As baskets fill and the filter gets dirty, system resistance increases and flow can decrease. So here's a practical way to approach it. Slow the pump down until you find approximately where the flow switch is no longer reliably satisfied. Now you've learned something useful about that particular pool. I like giving myself a meaningful safety margin. Something in the neighborhood of 20 to 25% above that threshold can be a reasonable starting point. Not because 20 or 25% is some magical Hayward specification, it isn't. It's because I don't want to operate right on the edge. I want enough margin that a few leaves in the basket or a filter beginning to load up doesn't suddenly stop chlorine production. And about the flow switch, this is the typical Hayward flow switch. This goes in this T. This T is especially designed for Hayward. You can't just use a normal 2-inch T with the 3/4 inch threaded port. This is a special T. But this sits down in the water and this has arrows on it. Can you see those arrows? These are directional. You want to make sure when you're tightening these in, you get them oriented in the proper direction of flow. So what happens is when you're getting flow, it pushes against this, and then when these two touch, that signals the system that there is enough flow to satisfy the salt cell. And remember, RPM isn't flow. This is important for pool pros especially. Don't assume 1200 RPMs always equals enough flow. It doesn't. RPM is a pump speed. GPM, or gallons per minute, is flow. The same pump RPM can produce very different flow rates on 2 different swimming pools because the plumbing, filter, valves, elevation, equipment, and total dynamic head are different. If you have an actual flow meter, even better. Now we're measuring instead of guessing. And I really want to emphasize this. I'm not showing you this because I think there's something wrong with AquaRite. Quite the opposite. I have tremendous respect for these systems. They've been producing chlorine on American swimming pools for decades. They're simple, they're serviceable, pool professionals understand them, parts are readily available, and there are a ton of them still working. The cell didn't suddenly change. Our definition of normal pool circulation did. We went from routinely moving relatively large amounts of water with single-speed pumps to intentionally moving much lower flows with highly efficient variable speed pumps. That's progress. Sometimes a proven piece of equipment simply needs to be installed or operated a little differently to accommodate the way we're using pools today. So if your AquaRite system is giving you strange salt readings or inconsistent performance while you're operating a variable speed pump at low flow, don't immediately assume the cell is bad. Make sure you're reliably satisfying the flow switch, give yourself some operating margin above that minimum, and then consider something incredibly complicated. Turn it over. Keep the electrode area down in the water and move the potential air pocket away from the part of the cell doing the work. Sometimes your salt cell really may work better upside down. And apparently it took a guy from the 1990s to tell you that. Now this may not work on every salt system. A lot of salt systems are just a straight tube, but on the AquaRite, since their design has this hump, just go ahead and give it a try. I hope this helps some of you guys out there. Make sure you like, comment, share with a friend. Check out our deepinfrank.com. Check out my Facebook page, Deep in Frank, and we'll see y'all in the next video.